Hello and welcome, friends. I'd like to share with you today about seva, service, what it is, how to do it, and why. When I first came to Ananda village, I thought I came just to be able to meditate, to learn how to meditate, and that was it. And I saw people who were so dynamic, so energetic, they were serving. And in my life, I never heard about serving. I always thought it was all about what you can get, not what you're giving to others. And so I learned through Ananda, through my years, over 40 years at Ananda, what service really means and how it changes your consciousness, it changes your energy, it changes your inspiration level, your magnetism. So first of all, I was serving in America, and I learned a lot about service while I was here. I was sent to Italy to help start our Ananda Center in Italy. I remember some days when we were opening a new place that was going to be our center, a hotel that needed a lot of cleaning and work. We showed up with a black plastic bag on every day to just clean the place, scrub the floors, scrub the walls, paint. That went on for months, but we so joyfully did it. Then I went to Africa and I served there. I lived in a hut with no running water, with mosquitoes everywhere, and it was so hot. And this was in Nigeria, then in South Africa and Zimbabwe. But what a joy! I learned more about service then. And then, now I've been in India for the past almost 18 years. And at the beginning, we didn't know anyone. So we just went out and we did everything. We went all over India teaching, and we would set up the halls, we would set up the registration table, we'd set up the book table, we'd set up the altar, set up the chairs. No one wanted to help us because they thought, why do I want to serve? But we showed by example how much joy and energy we had through serving. And now everyone helps. But what I learned was that service and meditation go hand in hand. You have to have both. And service is a way of giving back to God, giving back to this whole world, giving back to others, giving back to our gurus, giving back to our friends, giving back to people we don't even know. And what happens to us as we change inside so much and so deeply. We can think about the great ones who we know, like Mahatma Gandhi. I was thinking of him. His whole life was service. Mother Teresa, her whole life was service. I think of all of our masters. Guruji, Paramahansa Yoganandaji said, I'll come again and again until there's not one stray brother left behind. This is service. And I think of Swami Kriyanandaji. He gave his whole life. He came to Yoganandaji and he said, I didn't come for what I can take. I came for what I can give. And look what he gave. He gave his whole life. He dedicated everything he did. He wrote 150 books, 400 pieces of music. He taught thousands and thousands, maybe millions of people Yoganandaji's techniques. He started communities, and all of these things he offered at the feet of God and his guru. So for us as well, it's a part of our spiritual life. It's not extra. It's not if I want to, I don't like to. People think it's not appealing. It's very appealing. I can say I got more from seva than meditation. I know that's shocking to you, but seva does so many things that clears the way so that we can meditate. So what does it do? First of all, it gives us energy. If you don't have energy, how are you going to meditate? So it fills us with energy. The more we are able to get out of ourselves, our worries, our fears, our doubts, through letting energy flow through us in a project and something that we're trying to do and helping others and working with the team, we feel so much more energy. And then after you have that energy, you go home, you meditate, deep meditation right away. And it helps us to charge ourselves with energy. The greater the will, Yoganandaji said, the greater the flow of the energy. So you have to have willpower and willingness, and that brings energy. And there's a beautiful story of Swami Kriyanandaji who was, Yoganandaji had asked him rather to greet people after the Sunday satsang. And so because Master couldn't do it, Yoganandaji. So Swamiji stood there outside of the church, and everyone who passed by, he shook their hand and greeted them, and each person. And at a certain point, he felt so exhausted. And he told his guru afterwards, please don't ask me to do that. It was exhausting. And Yoganandaji said, you felt exhausted because you were thinking about yourself. If you think of God's power, you will have plenty and plenty and plenty to give to people. And that's what happened with Swami Kriyanandaji. And also it takes our problems away. You can, every day, you can have the mantra, my problems, and my problems. And most people do in this world. That's all they think about. My worries, my finances, my health, my children, my husband, my wife. It goes on and on. But if we can get out of that, because we have a greater perception, a greater, whatever we want to call it, but an outlook on life, that's a good way to put it, because we're serving, and as we serve, we just get out of ourselves. You get out of that little self, and you uplift yourself to a higher state of consciousness. And so that serving also, it lifts your consciousness, and when your consciousness is higher, in a super conscious state, as you serve, you uplift yourself more and more and more. And then you begin to see the problems. You see the answers rather to your problems. You see what you should do and how you should behave and so forth and so on. And so these are all ways that this service helps us. And then finally, it brings so much joy. I feel so much joy in my heart, and it's from serving, really. And I remember, I'll close with this beautiful story of Swami Kriyanandaji when he was a young monk. Several of the monks, Yoganandaji asked them to build a swimming pool for him. He never used the pool, but it gave them something to do, to channel their energy and their young energy at that. And so several of the monks were building, shoveling and whatever they needed to do to build the swimming pool. And then one of them stepped aside and he said, well, I didn't come here to do this. And so he stepped aside and he sat down. And the others, I think they did that job, that seva, 24 hours or 23 hours, just around the clock. And Swamiji said they were chanting, they were singing God's name, and they were full of energy and joy, all except the one who sat on the sidelines. He was exhausted. And it's a wonderful thing to know that it brings so much joy in your heart. And finally, it changes the way you serve. It changes the way you work, and it goes into your whole life. There was a woman who Yoganandaji told her, you work too hard. And she was a nun. And she said, okay, Master, I won't work so hard. And he gave her more work. And then he scolded her, but you working too hard. And she said, oh, no, I won't work so hard. He gave her more work, and he kept giving her more and more work. Finally, she said, Master, why don't we change that word work to service? And he said, now you've understood. All your life, you've been saying work, work, work. If you serve, if you offer yourself to God, you'll have so much energy, magnetism, inspiration, and so much joy in your whole life. God bless you.